Masvidal, game break fighter, retiring his grand finale in Miami, his hometown, the king of Miami, bowing out of MMA with a loss, but obviously still on his feet, looking perfectly healthy. A loss by decision points. Burns won the 3 rounds. Wrestler Burns is Gilbert Burns, and I clearly, he dominated that fight. But again, Masvidal doesn't look like a hair's harmed on his head. He's totally standing up perfectly fine. His daughters were there. It was sort of almost like a pageantry type atmosphere with Donald Trump, Kid Rock, and Mike Tyson and some other real icons in entertainment and politics ringside, along with Dana White, and Masvidal calling out in appreciation and support of both Donald Trump and as well as DeSantis, the governor down there in Florida. And again, this was at UFC 287, was in Florida and Miami. And, what's going to be next for Jorge? You know what I mean? He spent 20 years in MMA. He's obviously dealing with the court case in terms of jumping Colby Covington. But, I think he alluded to something like he might be up to fighting entertainers. And, is Jake Paul going to be something that now that he's out of a UFC contract potentially, or he's going to maneuver himself out of the UFC contract if he's not out of it already, is that something he's going to be looking at the YouTubers trying to get into that crossover type stuff, to get a big paycheck. And obviously, he's been on Impulsive Podcast with Logan and Mike Majdak and those guys. And, I can see that being a great strategic move and something that he could potentially do at this point that would, leverage his career forward and also help those guys because that was the real trend. We saw Jake fight Ben Askren, who's obviously got some history with Jorge, and as well as we saw Jake fight, Anderson Silva, and again, these are MMA guys, and these are older guys, these are veteran guys who have huge fan bases in MMA, and Jake's trying to get in MMA too, so maybe it's going to be something where Jorge is going to do a boxing match against Jake, sort of like he was talking about doing with the homie Diaz there, and then also maybe do an MMA match against Jake. I wonder if that's going to happen. I wonder what you guys think. Is Jorge going to match up with Jake now that he's out of the UFC?